How's it going, everyone? My name is Jonathan Martinez. I am a man of movies. I love film, everything film. I'm passionate about it, been passionate about it since I was a small boy. Now I'm a young adult, still passionate about it. Here's my wife, Frances.
Hi guys.
She's with me along this path, this journey of loving movies passionately and just analyzing them in depth. So we're here just to put some input. Today we're counting down my top 10 list of best films of 2019. Obviously this is my list, it's not Francis' list. He doesn't have a list yet. So she's just here to just bounce off of me. We bounce off each other just to see what our thoughts were on these films. My list doesn't look like yours, your list doesn't look like mine. That's film. Film is subjective, that's the beautiful thing about it. So let's get into this. Now coming in at number 10. Avengers Endgame is my number 10 film of 2019. This is a film that I just think it should not have worked because it's just so loaded with so many characters and so many storylines and so many movies coming to a culmination, trying to end more than 10 years of movies all connected, and it worked to a T. It worked amazingly. What the Russo brothers were able to do to make this all just make sense. The emotion in it, the action in it, everything just made sense and worked so well.
I agree.
What do you think? What are some thoughts you have about the movie?
I agree. I really liked it. I'm really new in this like Marvel universe. I just started watching it when I met you.
Yeah.
And after you showed me all the movies and then ending it up with this movie, it was honestly breathtaking.
The action in this movie, and I'm not an action heavy person. I feel like action without a story behind it is just noise. It's nothing but noise. But this movie has so much action that's not noise. It's just story driven, and I love that about it. The last hour of this film, the last act of this film, is possibly the best last act of any movie I think I've ever seen. The payoffs, the fan service moments. I mean, you were there, so many people were there. I cried. And I didn't mean that I had tears, or I mean that I wept. That's how important this movie was to me. That's how hard it hit me at certain scenes toward the end of this film that I just couldn't see it any lower than number 10 on my list. I'll always remember this movie, how well made it was from a directing perspective, from the acting in it, the whole culmination of it all, and the experience that it gave me that I will always remember till the day I die. I have a really hard time believing I'll ever have an experience as memorable as Avengers Endgame. Alright, my number 9 film of the year, Booksmart, directed by Olivia Wilde, is, wow, what a surprise. What a surprise. It is a movie that I was excited to see. We were excited to see. It just looked funny. It looked new and unique. And it interests me. But when I walked out of that theater from our first viewing, and I told her, I think this is my favorite movie of the year. At the time, it was. And in my opinion, what really gives this movie the push to number 9 was Beanie Feldstein and Caitlin Dever. They were amazing. Their chemistry was so tangible. And here they are with this relationship that is so real that when certain things happen in the movie, when they argue, when they just love on each other in a sisterly way, you believe it. You believe it and you love it. Aside from the performances and the whole chemistry of the two main actresses in this movie, the story is one that I feel high school students now and high school students in the future are going to be talking about, in the same sense that in my time we were talking about movies like Superbad. People are going to be talking about Booksmart in the same way, I believe. What are some thoughts you have about the movie? Some things you liked, some things you didn't like?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too. The best thing about it is that it had everything. It had It had the humor, it had the love, it had that connection. It made you feel so many things, and that's mostly why I really enjoyed this movie.
It's a high school movie, but it's made in the modern times. It has a lot of tones and themes of modern day issues, and it just interweaves into that story so well. It really hits on it very subtly. It's not on your face about a lot of things, and I really appreciated that about the script. The writing is phenomenal. The comedy is, maybe it's not the funniest movie of the year, but it is a funny movie. Now coming in at number 8, Knives Out. Rian Johnson's film. After The Last Jedi, I can say this. I don't care what anybody thinks about The Last Jedi. I don't care what anybody thinks about Rian Johnson as a director concerning that film. Because Rian Johnson as a director in general, especially with Knives Out, is great. Knives Out is a funny, great time. It's basically the genre of a murder mystery, but the way that Rian Johnson just puts his DNA into the filmmaking, this film was so fun. Now really quickly, the ensemble is the best part of this film. I don't care what anybody says. The ensemble is the best part of this film. Jamie Lee Curtis is in this movie. Chris Evans is in this movie. Daniel Craig is in this movie. It is an A-list casting, and I love the ensemble. And it makes for a very funny, a very grim, and a very satisfying ending. What are some thoughts you have about it?
I really enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting it to be that good. I honestly had really low expectations. It was a really fun film. I really enjoyed it. The casting, as you said, was great. You know, Captain America, whoop whoop.
Now going into my number 7 film of the year, it is James Mangold's Ford v Ferrari. Man, if pure adrenaline can be injected into a film, that would be Ford v Ferrari. It is pure adrenaline from beginning to end, especially when it gets to the Le Mans at the very end. The high velocity sequences, the dangerous turns, the drivers in peril is something that just gets your anxiety running, and you just are at the edge of your seat, waiting to see what happens, waiting to see who comes out on top. Easily, the best part of the movie is Christian Bale. His performance is easily one of the best performances of 2019. And don't let that take away from other actors like John Bernthal, like Matt Damon. Their roles in this movies and their performances and the way they interact with each other gives us a fascinating story of the Ford Motor Company trying to make a vehicle that's faster than Ferrari. Overall, this film is powered by its action scenes, which its acting influences, putting it up there as my number 7 film of the year. Any thoughts?
This movie had me on the edge of my seat the entire time. I was nervous, I was rooting for him. It just had me really excited the whole entire time. I really enjoyed it.
Now coming in at number 6, Jojo Rabbit. In the same way that Rian Johnson infuses his DNA into his films, Taika Waititi does it to perfection in Jojo Rabbit. When I went into this movie, I knew it was gonna be comedic, but I didn't know it was gonna be a comedy. More than a comedy, it's a satire of the world back in the 1940s during World War II. And it's this story of this small boy Jojo who is fascinated with being a Nazi, who is fascinated with Adolf Hitler, that he imagines him as an imaginary friend. And the turn it takes in the movie when this little girl who happens to be a Jew, his enemy, comes into his life, and he comes to understand that maybe what I was taught isn't true. The overall themes in this movie of acceptance and understanding turn up the emotional value to an 11, making those shocking moments in this film more painful when you leave the theater than at first glance.
Man, this movie is up there for me. It's probably gonna be on my top 5. This movie was hilarious and it really pulled on my heartstring. It's a movie you have to see for sure. I really liked how they took such a really dark history and turned it into something still sad but in a humorous way, but still making it a real topic to talk about because it did happen.
Okay, now coming in at number 5, Toy Story 4 is one of the best movies I have seen in a very long time. Now, a lot of people know the Toy Story movies hold such a special place in my heart. They have been given to me since I was a baby. Woody is my number 1 favorite movie character of all time. His progression from Toy Story 1 to the end of Toy Story 4 makes me love on that character so much more. Toy Story 4 is easily the funniest movie of all the movies, thanks to its extra supporting characters. Characters like Ducky and Bunny, who are voiced by the very talented Key and Peele. In the inclusion of this new character who has this existential crisis, Forky.
Huh? What? Oh, yeah.
Has some of the funniest scenes in this movie, some of the deepest scenes in this movie, and is easily my favorite new character. Now, Toy Story 4 really shines a spotlight on Woody and his journey from the end of Toy Story 3 to where we are now. But what really makes this movie for me is the overall message of Woody not being a favorite toy anymore and how he has to handle that with Forky being the new toy. And unwillingly, he puts his friends in danger because he has nothing left in life. It's such a beautiful message, especially when it gets to the end. One of the most emotional endings of the movie. It is truly an ending for my favorite character, Woody. An ending that brought me to tears.
I agree with you. That was such a beautiful film. I loved the animation of it all. Every single detail, you can see all the details.
Let me say, I really believe that Toy Story 4 needs to be nominated for Best Visual Effects.
Yeah.
Now, usually visual effects go to movies that are live action, but it is so astounding what Pixar is doing to change the game in animation. It's breathtaking.
And I also agree with you about from where he started, Woody, where he started in the first film all the way to Toy Story 4. It's such a big change and I love everything about it. How he's so independent now, after all that, like he learned to be independent. From the animation, from the story, everything was beautiful. Nothing bad about it whatsoever. It's gonna be on my top 5 for sure as well.
Now, coming in at number 4 is Joker. Now listen, before I get into the story, before I get behind all of its messages and whatnot, let me just say Joaquin Phoenix is gonna win the Oscar for Best Actor. Okay? He is my number 1 performer of 2019. But I have one problem with Joker, and that problem actually makes me love Joker more. And the one problem I have with the movie is it's not original. It takes influence, and not just a little bit, it takes a lot of influence from Martin Scorsese's films like Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. Everybody knows that. Now maybe that might have been a problem for me, that it wasn't as original as I wanted it to be, but the reason why that problem makes me love on the movie more is because those movies are great. Those movies are amazing. Those are pieces of art that Martin Scorsese did, and this movie, influenced by them, makes this movie an artistic film. The story of Arthur Fleck living in a society that doesn't care for him as he's slowly just losing his mind, or maybe he already did lose his mind. Man, this movie was captivating. And the fact that all that makes him an unreliable narrator, and by the end of the movie we don't even know what we saw. Because maybe it didn't happen. Maybe it did happen. Who knows? And I love that about it because we come out with our own understandings, each and every one of us. We have our own opinions about this movie. But to speed it all up, if there is one phrase to describe this movie, it would be a quote from the movie itself when Arthur Fleck is on the talk show and he tells the joke to Robert De Niro's character.
What do you get?
I don't think so.
When you cross
I think
a
we're
mentally
done
ill
with you,
loner
Joe.
with
That's
a
it.
society that abandons him and treats him like trash.
Call the police,
I'll
Gene.
tell you what you get.
Call the police.
You get what you deserve.
You already know.
One thing I really liked about this movie was what they did with Joker. That's something I think personally is very unique, that he has like a mental problem, like a health problem. And I feel like I've never seen that before, right? I think that's something I really enjoyed about it, is just seeing Joker in kind of like a different light than the original Joker. And the movie itself was just all great, very enjoyable, and yeah, an A for me.
Now coming in at number 3, it is Parasite. This Korean film is my number 3 movie of the year, and it really shows that what the director had to say in the Golden Globes is true. That when we get over this fear of this 1-inch barrier that is subtitles, we're going to be introduced into this whole new world of film. And I'm so happy that I went to go see Parasite, because it is as original can be, let me tell you. The message that it portrayed in the different classes in the world, you have the upper class and then you have the lower class, and how it displayed their differences, and this family, little by little, one by one, infiltrate this upper class home, and they basically become parasites in a metaphorical stance. And when you think the story isn't wacky enough, when you think the story isn't as original already, as funny already, as dramatic already, it takes a 180-degree turn, and it's just shocking what happens in the middle of the movie and how that impacts the end of the movie.
Man, what a crazy movie it is. It was really fun, and so many things were going on, but like the whole time I had my eyes on the screen. I could not take my eyes out of it. It was a really fun film.
Please do yourself a favor, watch Parasite. It's not in English, it's not in Spanish, it is in Korean, but it is my number 3 and one of the best films of 2019, if not the best film. Now coming in at number 2.
What is it?
I want you to guess.
What films have you not said?
It's Marriage Story, everybody. Marriage Story is one of the best movies I have seen all year. And guess what? It's on Netflix. You can watch it right now. You can pause this video, go to Netflix, watch Marriage Story. It's only like 2 hours and 16 minutes. It's amazing. The performances by Adam Driver, Scarlett Johansson are completely captivating. They are amazing in this movie. You are enamored by just how great they are as performers.
I thought that was gonna be your number 1.
I thought so too, but it's not.
Surprise.
Let me tell you that the story is painful. It is so painful because you know that these two characters, they love each other. It's not this type of divorce where they hate each other because you know they shouldn't be together for certain reasons that we find out in the movie, but you want them to stay together because you know that they love each other. You just wish they can get over those differences and just love on each other and get together and work it out themselves. But they don't do that. And man, this movie really took a toll on me, and it still takes a toll on me. I love this movie so much. And listen, don't let me get started on, in my opinion, one of the best scenes of 2019 is the argument scene between Adam Driver's character and Scarlett Johansson's character. I can't explain it with words. You just have to watch it. I know it's been going viral on the internet. It's so painful. Again, I use that word a lot because that's what the movie was for me. It was painful, but bittersweet. You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. It's my number 2. It was my number 1, but now it's my number 2. But that doesn't mean anything because the movie is still great. It's still one of the best movies I saw of the last 10 years, if not my life. Okay.
Oh, it's a must-see film for sure. If you haven't seen it, like you said, go watch it. Everything about it was great. I was rooting for them. I wanted them to get together because you do see that love between them. But I'm happy they didn't because that's how life is.
Alright, so this is it. number one movie of 2019 is 1917. I know it's a movie. You agree with me?
Yeah.
I had to rewatch Marriage Story just to make sure, and I did, and I made sure that my number one movie is Sam Mendes' 1917. I don't know where to start. I think the first thing I want to say is this movie is one shot from beginning to end. You know, that is something I've never seen before in my life. I have seen bits and pieces of it in films, one of them being Birdman, but never the whole feature film. That is astounding to me, and it's changing the game. It's going to change the game. I know it's going to change the game. Aside from the direction that Sam Mendes wanted to take, let me talk about the cinematographer, Roger Deakins. This guy is Bob Ross, but for film. He just knows how to track and how to shoot these beautiful landscapes or these very close encounters, and it's beautiful. You can take a screenshot of any moment in this film and you can hang it up on your wall, and it's that beautiful. Now when it gets to the nitty-gritty, the story itself is very simple. It's a very simple story of here's these two men who have orders from their general to give a message to another base, but it's intertwined with the hardship of the journey, the way there, and everything that happens and transpires in between is all exciting, adrenaline-filled, heartbreaking, gives you goosebumps, it makes you cry, it makes you happy, it makes you scared. I have felt every emotion in this movie that I felt in all the 9 other movies we just listed before it. This film is about hope. This film is about perseverance, and it's about true friendship and camaraderie. What does it mean to be a true comrade, a true friend? And it's just sticking there and persevering with them till the end. And there's just one scene in particular, you know the scene I'm talking about, and it's just mixed with the score, which by the way is great. The score with this scene, and it's in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, when he leaves the trench in the middle of battle, and he's on the field, the battlefield, while these explosions are going on around him, and he needs to make it to his target. He needs to make it, and the score is just booming, and he's running, and he's running, and he's running, and it's so, man, I'm just thinking about it now, and I get goosebumps. This film is amazing, and it is the best film I've seen in 2019. Man, this movie's gonna win the best picture for the Oscar. I have a good idea that it's gonna win.
I haven't made a list yet, but I know for a fact that this movie is gonna be my number one. Just my favorite part of it is just the way they filmed it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's just amazing. I can't wait until it comes out on DVD and I can see the behind the scenes, because I want to know how they do it.
Yeah.
It's just
For sure.
insane. It's so, oh my god, so great. And all the little details when he, like, even when he turns the camera, and just the way they filmed everything, it's just amazing. That's for sure my favorite part, and just seeing how everything just connected and how it didn't lag. I felt like it didn't even lag. Like for some movie that's like that,
Yeah.
it didn't even lag. So it's, I'm just really, really happy with
Yeah.
it. My number one, his number one, go see it.
Go watch 1917. Amazing.